Hey, what's going on out there, world? It's your main man, Tommy, on the spot. We got Steve on the other end, and welcome to another edition of Disney 101. Thank you so much for checking us out here today. A very special Labor Day weekend edition of the show. I was chatting with Steve earlier in the week, and we figured, why not bring the show over to Labor Day weekend, the unofficial end of summer. Summer's technically a couple more weeks, and I know for you, Steve, summer actually ended a couple weeks ago when you went back to school a little early.
Yeah, but on the flip side, it's still very much summer as far as the weather goes out here, and it probably will be until about December. So,
Oh, there you go. Well, then that is about as good. I know when we went down in January of this year, I was surprised that it was anything but summer down in Florida, but down in Orlando rather. But at the end of the day, I think it's still their random time is like by you, it's like 80 degrees as opposed to 30 down here in New York in January, maybe like 60 tops. So, but very, very cool. I do know how was your week last week?
it was good. We're definitely back in the swing of things as far as school goes. So, I don't think I'll ever get used to waking up at 5:30 in the morning, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you on that because of the fact that we're at our office where it's currently at. Technically, now we're back, into the swing of things in terms of the season, so to speak, for different, basically different job fairs, different things to that extent. It's really like back into the mold. The office is pretty quiet during the summer, and September's job seeking season. So we're hitting the ground running, and basically it's going to be craziness now for the next couple months until December.
Yeah.
I also heard that you, before we kind of get into a couple different news bits of the week, I heard that you had an opportunity to go down to Disney Food and Wine this weekend.
Yeah, we went Friday night to check it out. It was super busy, but that's to be expected. It was the first full week, and it was it's a holiday weekend and everything. So we went in expecting that it was busy, but it was crowded. It was super packed, but we still had fun.
What did you guys get to try anything new?
We tried a couple of different things. I actually had to write it all down, and I took a few pictures that I'm going to put up later.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I had over at what was it called? Taste. It was I'm gonna pull a U and completely butcher the name of.
There we go.
And it was like Taste by Fire or something fire, but basically everything was either grilled or smoked, or it had a lot of different meat. I got a smoked corned beef with warm, crispy potatoes, pickled onions, and blonde ale beer fondue.
Wow.
Uh,
Bond ale beer fondue sounds pretty incredible.
it was that whole dish. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, was probably my least favorite out of everything that I tried. And I went in with it probably because I in with it with such high hopes. But the beer fondue was a little watery. And there wasn't a lot of the corned beef. The corned beef that I had was really good, but there wasn't a lot of it. And the warm, crispy potatoes that they bill it as were basically just potato chips.
Oh, really?
They
Wow.
were like really like thick cut, like the thick cut kettle cooked potato chips, but at the end of the day, they're potato chips.
There you go.
But I mean, it was good, but if I had known that that's what it was going into it, I probably it would have changed my expectations of it. Um, so that was probably my least favorite. My wife Amanda had her usual pão de queijo over at Brazil. It's Brazilian cheese bread, which is one of the few things bread related that she can have, which is always a huge fan of.
And do
And
they let you know ahead of time, like, hey, this is gluten okay and all that?
yeah, so on the one on the little booklet that they give you, and two on the anywhere where they see the menu, there's a couple of different designations. One of them is GF for gluten free, one of them is V for vegetarian, and then there's also KA for kid approved, which like kid friendly dishes. Some of them, like when you have a kid's palate or a kid's appetite in mind, you know that is one of the things, the pão de queijo, because it's cheese bread. Like kids love cheese, kids love bread.
There you go.
Um,
That sounds awesome.
yeah. So she had that, and then we kind of shared the Le Cellier wild mushroom beef filet mignon with truffle butter sauce over at Canada.
Okay.
Um, and that was actually pretty good as well. That's both that and the pau de queijo. We agreed that it was better this year than it was the past couple of years, both because of the cut of beef that it was and just the overall taste and everything. It was really good. Um, and then we tried. I'm trying to go in order from like where we went. Then I stopped off at Japan, and I had a hard choice between everything at the Japan stand sounded really good, but I ended up going with the teriyaki chicken bun, which was a steamed bun filled with chicken, vegetables, and a sweet teriyaki sauce. It was really good.
That
And
sounds
then,
incredible.
yeah, it was really good. And then we both had the Fuji apple cocktail, which was sake, peach schnapps, and green apple syrup, and it basically tasted like a green apple Jolly Rancher. So it was amazing.
Sounds absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and then last but not least, we stopped over at India. I know your favorite.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
I had korma chicken with cucumber tomato salad, almonds, cashews, and warm naan bread. And it had a little. It's Indian food, so it's going to have a kick to it. But I really enjoyed it. And then Amanda had the Madras red curry with roasted cauliflower, baby carrots, chickpeas, and basmati rice.
That's incredible. Wow. What a night that must have been.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, there were a lot of things that I had seen, both that I had last year that I really wanted to try, and a few new things that I want to try. So we'll definitely be going back probably in a couple of weeks.
Very cool. Very cool. It sounds like a real infusion of flavors there from all around the world.
Yeah. I mean, that was I tried to pick different things that are going to I didn't want to try and stay in one realm too much, so tried to go all around the world with that one.
Yeah, that's really cool. And one of the things, now when you guys were there, did you go on any attractions, or is it you went specifically for food and wine?
No, we went specifically for the food and wine one because we went after Amanda got off of work. So
Oh,
we didn't get there until about 6:37 ish.
gotcha.
And by the time we got there, we were both really hungry. So we just made a beeline for the World Showcase. And just we did one quick lap, and then we were able to head out.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, assuming the World Showcase still closes around what 9-ish?
So on Fridays and Saturdays, I don't know if they've started doing it, but most of the time, or at least in the past, they've closed on Friday nights and Saturday nights during Food and Wine Festival at 10. But then most other nights, unless you're there for extra match hours, they're going to close at 9.
Oh, very cool. That's not. So you guys got a lot of food. You got a lot of different. You got to try a lot of things in just a short amount of time there. That's pretty great.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And the lines weren't, the good thing is that the lines weren't too bad. Like sometimes they can look kind of long, but they move pretty quickly.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Um, well, it sounds like it was a really good time. It's definitely again on my list of. It would be my third trip down to the world. Now, I was gonna, and this is not a bad idea to ask you here. So we had a 2-day park hopper pass, and when we did the park hopper pass throughout our stay, and even afterwards, we were prompted that if we wanted to add another day to that park hopper pass, we can do so within 6 months. Is that legit?
As far as I know, you can only add an extra day to a ticket as long as there's one day remaining on it.
Ah,
And
that's what I
if
thought.
I'm now, I mean, this is when I worked there, so I don't know if it's changed since then or what. But when I worked there, it was you can only you can only add a day if there is still a day left that you have not used. So if you are on your last day and you've already entered the park, you can't add any more days. I mean, rules are meant to be broken sometimes, but that's usually one that they stick by. And also, you have 14 days upon from first use till when it's going to expire. So I don't think that that is accurate.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I figured too. I was like, nah, it's probably not something that would work out because of the fact that then we can just basically, I'm sure we got the email probably in error because otherwise we could just book a second trip and just bang them on to our same park hopper tickets.
Yeah, most of the time when Disney will let you either upgrade or they'll give you a discount on something or whatever the case is, usually you either have to be still on the vacation or it's going to be very short afterwards, like maybe a week or so.
Now, if we had the 6 months to utilize that park hopper and we had 1 day left on the trip, could we then have booked a second trip and, let's say, come down 3 months later if we still had more time on the park hopper? I guess probably not. Probably we wouldn't be able to
my
start
understanding
the
would be
park.
no.
What's that?
My understanding would be no, because my understanding of it is once you use any of the days on a ticket, you have 14 days to finish the ticket. Otherwise, it's going to expire. So if you buy a 7-day ticket and you use you go to the parks the first day and then don't touch it again for the rest of your vacation, you would have to go back in another 2 weeks. Otherwise, it's going to expire.
Very cool. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense too. I mean, because I was like, that can't be true. I don't know what that email was. I probably misread it, or maybe was just thinking, oh man, I could squeeze another trip in before the end of the year. We went out at the beginning of July. We can go down and right in time for Christmas season and kind of do that. But that really would be that doesn't seem like it would make much sense for them to go ahead and do that.
No.
All right. Well, before we kind of get into our I guess our recap here of the summer at the parks, do you want to get into any of the news bits of the week?
Sure, yeah. I'll start with the first one where it's they announced this week, actually on Thursday, that you can now use minivans for travel from Orlando International Airport to and from Walt Disney World Resort hotels.
That's pretty incredible. Now, usually the minivans were specifically just to get around the actual resort, right?
Yeah, so before this, the minivans were only used basically within Disney property. So if you wanted to go tour from a resort, tour from one resort to another, or from park to park, that's how they were utilized. But now it's expanded. And now this is not replacing the Disney's Magical Express. This is in addition to. Nice.
That's really cool. Well, I wonder why would they have that? Like, in my opinion, I love the Magical Express. What would be the difference in going, instead of taking the Magical Express, than taking the minivan instead?
So let's see. I'm trying to work through. I mean, it's more for one, it's because it's a personal reservation. So you don't have one if you don't necessarily want to go on the Magical Express and you're not a fan of buses for one reason or another. This is basically a personal van, and it holds up to 6 passengers. Plus 8 medium-sized suitcases. Up to 3 complimentary car seats can also be provided, and ADA accessible vehicles are available. So if, maybe if you do need that accessibility option, or if you have a lot of small kids, or if you're just traveling with, you just want to make it just a little bit more magical and you want it to be personalized, it's a great option. And also, it's one of those things where if you don't want to go and wait around for the Magical Express, because every so often it could wait a little bit. So since this is an exact reservation, you get in, you go to your pickup location, and you go and you have, that extra little bit of time at the hotel or whatever.
Well, I'll give you a bit of a personal story about the minivans for myself. Last year, when we came down, I guess I want to say around April, when WrestleMania season was going on, and we had just gotten engaged. We went down to Disney. By the way, that was just my way of throwing that WrestleMania season was there. WrestleMania had nothing to do with the trip whatsoever. But we went down, and our Uber driver got super concerned that he was not able to drop us off close to the Magical Kingdom, close to Epcot. So he just said, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to drop you off right here," and pulled over side of the highway, dropped us off right there. And we were like, "What are you doing?" We had to now walk all the way across the side of the highway, backpacking over basically to Epcot. And we saw a car coming up slow behind us. And we're like, "Oh man, there's police. Are going to be like, what are you guys doing?" And it wasn't police, but it was actually a minivan that was asking if we were heading to the parks. We said we were. And the cast member said, "Oh, hop in. I'd be glad to give you a ride." And they gave us a ride right on the spot, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, they're not going to, you're literally on the side of a highway at that point. So yeah, they're not going to just, drive past you and not help.
And I'm pretty sure too that the Uber driver, I don't think I was wrong in saying, "Hey, you could drop us off over there."
Oh yeah, no, they've never.
Yeah, I don't know what
you always go and just say, "Hey, I'm dropping people off," even if you're not an Uber driver, even if you're just, anyone else, just like, "Hey, I just want to drop these people off." You're going to go and there's a special place to drop people off.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing. But Magical Express for me, I personally love it. I know one of the things that's really cool about the Magical Express in Disneyland Paris is that that's one of your only options. So even if you're not staying on property, the Magical Express will pick you up. Obviously, there's a fee and all that. But they will pick you up and drive you directly to either the Disney Resort, and then you can, let's say you have like a hotel off property that has a shuttle that goes to and from the parks. They'll drop you off right there at the park, and you can take your shuttle back to the hotel. So we went on the Magical Express in Paris, and we get there, and the television sets were off. And so I said to the driver, hey, why are the TV sets off? And he's like, oh, well, that's usually just to play like classic Disney cartoons and hype up some of the things at the parks. And I said, well, yeah, I know that's what it's for. Why are they closed? And he said, well, because those are for kids. And I was like, put those on. Like, I want to see that stuff. And so I made the guy, and he was not happy. He had to get out and turn it on. And but I got to see my hype for the Disney parks. And that's how I found out about the Wild Wild West show.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, half the fun of riding the Magical Express. To me, it's part of the experience, So, I mean, and also the big thing to keep in mind here, the biggest difference, in my opinion, is the minivans are an extra charge. You do have to pay extra for it. I see a couple of different prices here. One of the prices says it's $150 each way. And I'm pretty sure the flat rate for a minivan is $25 when you're using it in the parks. So a couple of different prices there. And the Magical Express is completely complimentary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Magical Express is complimentary if you're staying on property?
Oh, yeah, it always has been.
Oh, that's what I remember, because I was telling Ari when we went down to Disneyland Paris, she was so surprised there was an extra charge. And I said, well, and I was surprised there was such a steep extra charge. And she said, well, it's the same way in Orlando, but it's really not, right? It is only if you're not staying on property, or you're not even able to if you're not staying on property, right?
Yeah, if you're not staying on Disney property, you are not able to take the Magical Express. So that's, just another perk as far as, staying at a Disney World hotel. Now, there's nothing here that says there are a couple of places that the Magical Express doesn't go to that the minivans might service. So the minivans might service the Swan and Dolphin Hotel, and they might service Shades of Green. There's nothing on the website that says one way or the other where it does, but that would also be a good option if it does service like Shades of Green, for example. It's the military resort that's on property. Because the Magical Express typically doesn't go to Shades of Green. You usually have to take it to a neighboring hotel and then walk over. So if the minivans will go to Shades of Green, that's definitely a big option.
Yeah, that's huge too, because otherwise you would have to take Magical Express to some place it goes to, and then take Disney transportation, I guess, over to
the
thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's definitely an added perk. I know that, for example, one of the things I bet we were talking about those videos earlier. I always feel like, specifically the Magical Express, and it's definitely done by design, but the videos they show at the end of your stay when you're heading back to back to the airport, hyping up the rest of the year at the parks always gets you super excited to want to go back, and I'm sure that's by design.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Actually, one of the things that I saw over on Twitter earlier, and I'll give a shout out to the rightful owner of this tweet, at Fantasyland Maddie wrote, there are only 4 seasons for me: Food and Wine Festival, Festival of the Holidays, Festival of the Arts, and Flower and Garden Festival. And it took me back to heading back on that Magical Express, and they break down every single part of the year for you, and you're just sitting there like, I've got to go back. Screw it. Turn this around and let's head back, because they do a really good job on that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there anything else you wanted to get to about the news of the week?
Just a couple of quick things. Another one that the Oga's Cantina is coming to Star Wars Galaxy Edge in 2019. It was announced also on Thursday that there's going to be, it sounds like it's going to be some sort of, it's a cantina. So, and it looks like it's going to be reminiscent of the Mos Eisley Cantina in the first Star Wars movie.
Nice.
Where they're going to be serving drinks, and it's going to be a very immersive atmosphere, at least from the concept art. I'm sure they'll probably give you quick bites, like some of the other bars, or lounges, or whatever you want to call it. But it's probably going to be something along the lines of, like Trader Sam's or the Nomad Lounge over at Animal Kingdom, where its emphasis is going to be on the bar, but then they're also going to give you some quick bite, some small bites or some small plates or whatever. There's going to be music and a couple other things, so should be
Definitely.
cool.
And they in Hollywood Studios they allow alcohol, right? Like you're allowed to there's adult beverages and such.
Yeah, the only one that really discourages it is Magic Kingdom. It's only at a couple of different restaurants, and it's only for dinner.
Yeah, and they're getting. I feel like we're getting to a point where it's going to be everywhere. I think it's just nature of kind of they're realizing a lot more adults are going on trips to Disney. I know they want to kind of keep the Magic Kingdom specific for families and younger children, but at the end of the day, I think it's the nature of the beast that I think at some point it's just going to be available everywhere.
I mean, it's for me, at least for the Magic Kingdom, make it an all or nothing thing. If you're going to let alcohol in the park, then just make it just like any other park where you can go to a bunch of different places to get it. If not, then just don't allow it. I mean, if you are at Disney with your family, I know, hey, maybe your family tests you sometimes, but there are plenty of other places to get your drink on. Magic Kingdom does not have to be one of them. I think you can survive without the one drink for the one night.
I agree. And Magic Kingdom 2 is also like, I love Magic Kingdom, but it is also that type of deal where I feel like if you're an adult, you're bringing your children there, you're kind of going in with the idea that like, hey, this is going to be a long day. This might be at times super frustrating. It's also going to be super rewarding to see your kids just having the time of their life. But yeah, I think that's the one day. It's the family day, and you can kind of do without the drinks. I completely agree. I also think that a place like Epcot, that's always the place you go to when you can kind of expect there's going to be your group of derelicts at some place in Epcot, because that does seem to be the place where folks will drink more than anywhere else.
Yeah, there were quite a few on Friday too. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, but also, I mean, Magic Kingdom, there are plenty of places all around Magic Kingdom for you to pregame if you really need to. So you can pregame over at like Trader Sam's or any of the other bars around the monorail, and then just go right to Magic Kingdom. There's no, in my mind, if Walt's vision of the park was a family park without any alcohol in it, so at the very least you can keep it like that.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's bizarre that they've done. I mean, the glass of wine and be our guest, I guess it makes sense. It's kind of what they're doing. And kind of the theme of Be Our Guest. But I agree that if that was Walt's idea to not have any drinks in the park, then you can leave Magic Kingdom alone. And I love your idea of doing the monorail kind of pub crawl, so to speak.
Yeah, but I mean, at that rate, you might as well, there's Gaston's Tavern in Fantasyland, and there's no alcohol there. So, hey, if you want to fit the theming, then yeah, serve alcohol at Gaston's Tavern or, any of the other restaurants that it's supposed to be.
I will say, if it's Gaston, if they do Gaston's Tavern and start doing like happy hours and stuff, it will be so un-Disney. But I will be there partaking, because that'd be pretty cool.
Right.
And did you want to? You said there was a couple other things that you wanted to touch on.
The last thing kind of also segues into one of the things that we're going to be talking about later. But they did announce officially that Storybook Dining at Artist Point is going to debut this winter at Disney's Wilderness Lodge. And that means that Artist Point, it sounds like, is going to be transitioning from the signature dining that it is right now to a character dining that's going to feature Snow White, Dopey, and Grumpy, and maybe also the Evil Queen from Snow White, because her picture is kind of front and center in this article on the Disney Parks blog. So maybe her too, which would be rare. It's also going to, for dinner, it's going to be kind of it's going to be a prefix menu, but there's going to be shared starters, a choice of individual plated entrees, and a sweet spells to finish the meal.
Yeah, I will say what it sounds like with the Queen. If you've ever been to Cinderella's royal table at Magic Kingdom, obviously in the castle, the way that that's set up, Cinderella's downstairs for like a photo op, and then you go upstairs, and the rest of her friends join you for dinner, come around, do the classic dining thing. Same kind of deal at Ariel's Grotto in Disneyland, where Ariel is there front and center when you first walk in, and then when you go and you do the dining, the different princesses come to the table. So I wonder if that kind of makes more sense, and it kind of sounds like maybe what they're going to do there, because you're right, the Queen is front and center on all the advertising for that, so it makes sense. Evil Queen is there, you go, you take your photo with her, and then the rest of the characters come around to the table, and you get to kind of get your photo op with them while you're eating.
Yeah, that's kind of typical for character dining where you get the opportunity to meet one of the characters right at the beginning before you sit down and you get your one big picture with them and then you also get, the other pictures with all the other characters that come around. So that's fairly typical. So I think you might be right there where it's going to be, you meet Evil Queen first and then Snow White, Dopey and Grumpy are just going to be there as you walk, as you're eating.
The one that we did for Winnie the Pooh, the character meet and greet. Which one's that?
That's the Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace. There is no character there when you first walk in, right?
No, that one, yeah, no, that one doesn't have it.
Should be Christopher Robin. You should get to meet him, right as you walk in, and then you can go and do the rest of the characters as you eat.
That would be kind of weird.
I'll just say it would be a little weird, but
because you're either getting a face character, which is going to be a little boy, or you're going to be a what they call a furry character, even though he's not furry, which is going to be even weirder. So I wouldn't see that happening.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't think we need any more characters like Star-Lord. God bless him, but that one just
Right.
that was weird and awkward, and yeah. So I hope I don't think we'll be doing that. So this is also, it does seem like there's only going to be 3 characters that come around, which is strange because most of the character dinings are usually getting 4 characters. I wonder if they'll be adding someone like, and kind of we talked a little bit off the air about Dot or Sneezy or Sleepy. Sleepy, you can get your photo op and you can barely stay awake. Sneezy's, getting a little sick as you're going with your photo op with him. That'll be interesting to see if they add like that 4th character there and who would be.
I don't know, but because mostly, certainly most of the dwarves that are kind of front and center as far as like advertising and merchandise and everything, the big 2 are Dopey and Grumpy because they're the ones with the most personality and the most distinguishing personalities.
Right.
So I get the feeling like any of the other ones aren't going to be making an appearance.
And Grumpy is super over too. People, I always get the Grumpy shirt. Erica's got a bunch of Grumpy shirts too. Don't talk to me in the morning. I'm Grumpy, whatever it is. So it's good that he'll be there.
Yeah.
Now this is getting a little bit of a mixed reaction though from some folks that already enjoy Artist Point. I know you're a big fan. Is this something that you feel like will add to the experience, or are you a little bummed to see it become character dining?
I am very bummed to see it become character dining, to be honest. I'm sure we'll try it out because we love Artist Point. We actually went there last night, partially because we knew that it was going away or at least being reimagined. So we kind of wanted to get in there while the getting was good. But yeah, it's one of our favorite restaurants between the food because it's food that you definitely won't find in a lot of other places. And when you get something like, venison or, buffalo or something like that, you want to make sure that it's prepared well because those are kind of tricky meats to work with and they can go wrong really quickly. So, it's just between the atmosphere and everything. I'll get into it a little bit because it's definitely on my list for what we're going to be doing. So sure. I'm gonna hold off for my diatribe there.
Sounds good. I have some follow-up questions on it too that I'll jump on a little later on as well.
Yeah.
So is that all the news stories you have for this week?
That was everything that I had.
That's very good. I give you a lot of credit for that because I thought it was a relatively slow news week, but certainly artists. I totally forgot about the Artist Point becoming character dining. That is really big, and that is a story that a lot of folks are talking about amongst the hashtag DIS Twitter that's out there and amongst Disney fans around the world. So. All right, so what we're going to do now is before we get into our main topic, we're going to kind of recap the summer of 2018 in Disney World, Walt Disney World, rather. Is there any takeaways that you have from this past summer here at Disney World?
One being that Toy Story Land is actually, now that it's kind of officially been released and everyone has kind of had an opportunity to go through it and everything like that. I've heard a lot of mixed reactions actually, because, once the original, all this is all so new and it's awesome in it because it's new and everything. Once that has kind of subsided, people kind of really start to nitpick and find flaws in that kind of stuff. I haven't heard anything spectacular one way or the other out of the new quick service that's come up there. A lot of times when there's new food, people are all over it, and I really haven't heard anything from that. People are saying that there's not enough shade and there's not enough places to sit and that kind of thing, and that for what people were promised as far as the attractions, people kind of almost feel let down, which I mean, I could see the food and the seating and that kind of stuff being an issue, but the Slinky Coaster, when we went on it, we loved it. I think it fits right where it needs to be. And the flying saucers, we didn't go on it, but we saw it, and I know what the ride entails, and for what it is, it's a great addition. It's definitely a needed addition right now when they're kind of in that transition period between everything is gearing up for Star Wars. And once Star Wars happens, you're going to need something to kind of take people away from that part anyway. So adding this new extra land definitely adds something to the park.
Yeah, I completely agree. For me personally, I'll give a little tale because I did get to go down to the parks earlier this summer, which was cool. It was actually, we got to go down around your birthday, Steve, which was fun. We were able to be there for that, and that was a lot of fun. And one of the things that was really cool for me personally was that we got to, originally the plan was Erica's family was down in Orlando, so they were doing their own thing, and the plan was we were going to go down there, kind of go over there and have some time in the parks. And then with some prodding, her parents agreed to come to one day at Epcot, and her father specifically thought this was going to be the silliest, most ridiculous thing in the entire world. But just seeing how excited they were to be at the parks, her mother's first chance to get to the parks in like 20 years, and her father just loving every single moment of it. And we kind of went into the area there to kind of take a little bit of a nap, and also a little bit of an AC break in the This American Tale?
It's the American Adventure.
The American Adventure. It should be This American's Tale. But the American Adventure, to see him, he was loving every minute of his entire day there, my father-in-law, and to see him so excited about everything and immediately take back everything he had said about, Disney being for kids and not being a place that he would enjoy. He even went over to some of the cast members that, were singing and were taking part in the I guess, is that a play? What is that, a show?
That's the Voices of Liberty. So it's I guess it's a performance, that I don't really know how else to describe it.
Yeah. Well, to see him kind of go over and talk with each one of the cast members and thank them tell them all they did just as a great job. And to see him even loving that, which is, at times something you kind of don't even think about when you're going to the parks. That for me was definitely a highlight of the weekend. And also getting to go with one of our cousins, bring him down from North Carolina. Kind of been going through a bit of a difficult time in his personal life, and he's only 13, so it is what it is. But we took him down there, and to see him just so excited about everything. Always when you bring a kid with him, I mean, I think he wanted to go at the Swiss Family Treehouse, which is not something you ever hear folks say they necessarily want to do, but that was something he really wanted to do. And just to kind of see that excitement, it can kind of bring back it can kind of further your own excitement if you've been to the parks a number of times there. So that was really cool for me. As for Toy Story Land, I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think there was something where I personally I thought that the Slinky Coaster was really well done. It's a good time. I like it because of the fact that they've really kind of taken the Slinky Coaster from Disneyland Paris and added a lot to it in Hollywood Studios. And I thought also, we didn't get on the saucers either, but you can kind of figure out what the deal is with those.
Yeah, but I will definitely agree. One of my favorite things to do, just generally speaking, is to go to the parks with someone that either has never been or has not been in a long time, because just to see their faces light up with every little thing that they kind of see and encounter and everything, it's one of the best experiences.
Yeah, and I'll never forget, we were trying to kind of walk out of Epcot towards the end of that day and kind of beat the traffic a bit during the fireworks show, which Illuminations, is it?
Yep.
Ah, you got one. And to see her father keep turning back and just being like, oh my God, after each and every explosion and everything going on in the show, That was really cool. That was a heck of a good time there. So it was a lot of fun. Would you say, kind of looking back to last year, the addition of the Avatar Land, and now you have Toy Story Land this year, comparing between the two, which have you enjoyed more?
I've really enjoyed Avatar the couple of times that I've been. I didn't enjoy waiting 3-ish hours to go on the flights of passage each time. But it's the land and the immersion that you get, just the immersive environment it's really, really well done. And even when we went to the quick service location there to grab something to eat, that was pretty good. It's a very well done and very well thought out area.
Was that with like the bowls?
Yeah.
Yes, that was good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's good because it's still, one of my favorite things about Animal Kingdom is the food. It was good to see that they still kept going with that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, as far as that Toy Story, I think it's Woody's Lunchbox, is it called?
Yeah, something like that, or I think it's Andy's Lunchbox,
yeah.
Something like that.
I've seen a few things from some of our followers over on Twitter when they've gone and they post like some photos. I know I've heard the breakfast options there are actually where it's at. You should, if you're going to go to that place for anything, you should make it for breakfast. But at the end of the day, I'm a little bummed that Pizza Planet isn't there anymore.
No, but Pizza Rizzo replaced it, and it's basically the same thing.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. But in any event, it's interesting to see. I know I can't imagine anyone. We talked about that little extra magic hours they have specifically for Toy Story Land. I can't imagine that had to be already I can't imagine too many people signing up for that. If they do, being really disappointed.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things that they thought of within like the first week when they saw that Slinky Dog was a 2 or a 3 hour wait or whatever. They were like, "Oh, we got to jump on this now." And then a couple of weeks later, when all of the hype and everything has died down, now they're kind of stuck with, "Oh well, we came up with this thing, so we might as well see it through." Like, I don't see it lasting very long.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. I mean, one of the things also about kind of comparing the two, in Avatar, Flights of Passage, even though last time, when we went, it was very frustrating. We went through that entire pre-show, and then it broke down, and we came back, and we had to go through the entire pre-show again. That was really tough. But I will say that is like, it feels like that's like an attraction like none other in Disney World. So I think that is a great attraction. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm a huge fan, a mark, so to speak, using the wrestling lingo for slow boat rides. So the other one as well. What is the other ride?
The Navi River Journey.
Yeah, I think that one's okay too. The Toy Story, what's that?
It's really good. It's just really short.
Right. I feel like if they did a few more where you'd go around and kind of see some more avatars, I think it would be kind of maybe worth its while a little bit more than anywhere else. So, but yeah, so I mean that really for me, that's kind of where we're at in terms of this summer at Disney, and looking forward to the fall. I don't know that I'll be getting down there this fall because I had gone last winter as well as during the summer this year. However, I hope you never know, and we'll see if I'm able to get down there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be cool. It's always a great time. So let's get to our main topic here of the show. We talked about potentially doing a couple different ideas, and one thing that we really enjoyed, some of the feedback we got from last week's episode about top attractions at the parks. And so this week, we're going to be talking about our top 5 sit-down restaurants in Walt Disney World. So this is going to be all-inclusive here. So it could be anything from Epcot, from Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Magic Kingdom, Disney Springs, wherever you can find a place, any of the resorts. You can go ahead and we're gonna talk about it, and we'll go through our list here. And I know, Steve, you've had many more options than I've had because you've been to the parks about 300 times more than I have, and you've eaten there at the parks too. One of the things we do, which is kind of a little bit of a party foul, so to speak, for travelers, is my wife is real big on if we're staying at a resort, find a place that has breakfast so you can bang out and get free breakfast, and then maybe pack a sandwich and only go to dinner at the parks. So in doing so, we haven't been to as many restaurants as you'd think folks who do get down there a couple times a year normally would. But I have compiled a list of top 5. So Steve, do you want to get us started?
Sure. And I'll get it started with the restaurant that I started talking about, but I had to stop myself for a minute. So that's Artist Point over at Disney's Wilderness Lodge. And it is, and this is kind of in no particular order, but Artist Point is definitely one of my favorite restaurants. One, because it's in one of my favorite resorts. The Wilderness Lodge is, if not, it's definitely top 2. I feel like it's between that and the Polynesian. But it's one of my favorite restaurants to go to because of the theming, because of the atmosphere is really well done, the decorations and everything. It's a great restaurant just to go to, even if the food wasn't good, but the food is amazing. And it's food that you don't really have an opportunity to get to a lot of places. They have like a buffalo strip loin, and like the buffalo is done 2 different ways. And they have actually, when we went last night, I had venison ossobuco, which I'd never had before, and it was amazing. And the vegetables it's always really unique, and the restaurant is themed from basically like a northwestern, like the northwest part of the United States. So think like Washington State and up Oregon and up that way. So it has a lot of wine from that region too. So it's going to, it's really popular with like game food and salmon. My mom had the salmon and she loved it. So it's a great place if you're looking for something out of the ordinary, but you're still looking for a signature dining restaurant.
That sounds incredible. Yeah, and Artist point out this is in. Is it Animal? It's not an Animal Kingdom.
No, it's in the Wilderness Lodge.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's great. Yeah. No, I've heard really good things about Artist Point. It's definitely one of the places I'd like to go to. And so now, is there going to be a time where it closes down as they transition to the character dining?
Yeah, and we actually talked to our server about that. About like what's going to happen. I think that she said that the last reservations that you can make there are, I want to say, like November 11th or November 12th. And then it's going to close temporarily while they do the reimagining and everything like that. But there's no set date for when it's going to reopen. And, Disney is intentionally vague on that kind of thing because you never know what's going to happen, or what the plans are for it and that kind of thing. So, I mean, for all we know, it could open in March.
Right. That's tough. Yeah. I always feel like, that. I mean, you understand why they do it because of the fact that they probably don't know how long it's going to take,
Right.
So that's excellent. And I think one of the things to kind of look at in terms of, if I'm going over kind of on my side of my top 5, and these really, I don't know, are yours in order of how much you enjoy them?
Not really, no, because it's so hard for me.
Yeah, no, mine really aren't either. But one of the things, if I'm looking at like character dining that I've enjoyed and thought was really fun was Cinderella's Royal Table. I know that normally you wouldn't think of that, but it is a super. Is it like extra signature dining? Is that what it's called? When it's signature dining that you have to pay for, like if you have a meal plan, it counts as 2 sit downs.
Yeah, well, that's signature dining.
Signature dining, gotcha.
Yeah.
So that is signature dining, and I always, I really enjoyed going there. That the food was actually top notch, and the idea that you're in Cinderella's castle. Let's be honest, it's one of those places that's like the holy grail of places. I personally didn't even know until Erica, 6 months before our stay, immediately booked us a reservation and was super excited about going there. I had never even knew this place existed, so the idea that we were in the castle, we were able to go in there and to go there, and we had just gotten engaged, so it was kind of like our first of many couple different meals that we had there, celebrating that, and that was it was really cool, and it's cool too because just to see how excited everyone is, particularly the woman in your life, whether you have young girls, young daughters, granddaughters, whatever you may have, or if you have a wife like myself, to see all the different princesses, to get all dressed up and all that. So it's cool. So it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's one of the top, probably 2 or 3 hardest reservations to get So if you have the opportunity to, I would recommend it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Um, so I think my second one, I've gone back and forth. I wanted to jump around too much. I mean, I wanted to jump around a lot because otherwise I could probably my top five could just be in Wilderness Lodge and Animal Kingdom because between a couple, I know one in particular is on your list, but I'll save that one. So I'm going to go with Sanaa, which is over at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. It's actually at Kidani Village, which is so there's two Animal Kingdom resorts. There's Jambo House, which is the original Animal Kingdom Lodge, and there's also the Kidani Village, which is the Disney Vacation Club property. Now, the DVC has properties at both, but Kidani was the one that was specifically made for Disney Vacation Club. And over at Kidani Village, there is a restaurant called Sanaa. And the thing that people you have to get at Sanaa is the bread service, where they have a bunch of different non breads that have a lot of different sauce accompaniments, and you mix and match, and it's basically you do that as an appetizer, or you could do it as your own dinner or lunch if you want to. But you do that, and also on top of that, it has a lot of other African and Indian inspired dishes that, again, they do a good job of kind of balancing it where you can go really outside your comfort zone if you want to, or if you're not that adventurous, you can still get something that's going to be still not something that you would necessarily get at home, but still something that's going to be really good and really it's a great atmosphere as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's I've heard a lot of really good things about Sanaa, and also then it gives you an opportunity to go to the Animal Kingdom Lodge, which I heard is also a lot of fun and really good stuff.
Yeah, there's a mini safari out there that you can also kind of visit. Even if you're going for lunch, you can go out and just kind of watch and see the animals go around. But then if you're there for dinner, you can also ask to borrow some night vision goggles that they have, and you can watch the animals, which they're usually a little bit more active. But that's also it's a great thing to kind of go along with your meal.
That's awesome. Yeah, very very cool. If I'm going to go around, and I'll kind of try to piggyback off your some of the dining that you've mentioned in the past, that same area, so to speak, not in Animal Kingdom Lodge, but in Animal Kingdom proper, is Tiffin's. And that's a place that you guys were generous enough to take us out to celebrate our engagement. Beautiful place. They have, and I'm sure you'll correct me on this, but I think this is what this was, art from around the world. I believe it's is it African themed?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that was really great. The steak I had was top notch, out of this world, good stuff. And really, seeing Erica, also, she really enjoyed what she had as well, which she is somebody who, even though she enjoys a lot of really, really good different types of food from around the world, when it comes to like steakhouses, she gets a little overwhelmed by it. We actually have an annual trip that we do each year here in New York City to Delmonico's, which is where we went for your bachelor party. And she, this year, actually had a steak. Usually she'll go and have like salmon or a chicken. This year she finally did have the steak and thoroughly enjoyed it. But normally she is shy about that, but loved Tiffin's. And it also just looks super nice too. Like when you're coming around the bend in Animal Kingdom and you're walking in there and it kind of looks like it's in the middle of like, almost like a safari, so to speak. That's a really good place.
Yeah, and Tiffin's is another signature dining restaurant. But that's if I did not know already that it was on your list, it would have been on my top 5, absolutely. But I'm trying to, I had a lot more to choose from than you did, so right. I wanted to kind of try and change it around a little bit.
And one of the reasons why it was something that I had mentioned to Steve was because I needed to clarify and make sure what it was called. So there you go. But did you want to? I guess what is next on your list?
Another one on my list. I'm going to. I would normally go back to the Wilderness Lodge and say Whispering Canyon. I'll kind of say that that's an honorable mention because it's one of our go-tos when we're on the dining plan, or it's a go-to after one of our Run Disney events.
Okay.
either after we finish either one of, when Amanda does the princess races in February or when we do the Star Wars races in April. The past couple of times we have gone to Whispering Canyon for breakfast because you get um, the just the skillet meal there, and it's all you care to enjoy. So it's, I think I've referred to this as the lazy buffet because they just keep bringing you any sorts of food that you want that's on the list. And if you only want the biscuits and gravy, they'll just give you a whole skillet full of biscuits and gravy if you want it. But or whatever it is. But instead of choosing that, I'm going to go with Ohana, which is over at the Polynesian Resort. Because it's a little bit more of a unique atmosphere, and it's also a little bit harder to get a reservation. But it is part of it is because it's not a signature dining restaurant, so it still only takes one. If you're on the dining plan, it only takes one dining entitlement, but it is well worth it. And it's again one of my favorite resorts to go to, and it has some of the best food as far as a buffet goes that I've had.
That's incredible. I've heard a lot of really good things about both the places you mentioned. I know Whispering Canyon, they have the deal where if you ask for ketchup, everyone starts screaming, get up the ketchup, get up the ketchup. They run over and go crazy with that, and that's a lot of fun. But Ohana is on the short list of places that I definitely want to get down there and try. I've heard just great things about it, and I'm a fan of buffets. Eric doesn't love them nearly as much as I do, but I do like buffet. And now, do they have like a little section of buffet for like children food, so to speak, that kids enjoy as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a buffet in the you go up and they have everything spread out. It's a lazy buffet also where they bring all the food for you. But honestly, most of the food is fairly kid friendly. There's like wings and a couple of other like there's dumplings and that kind of stuff. But if you need to, they will have they have other stuff that they can always go and grab if you have a really really picky eater. But the other flip side to Ohana that I love is when they come around with all of the meat on the big forks and they just, whether it's steak or chicken or whatever it is, and they just kind of slice off a couple of pieces and do it. I mean, it's a great time.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. For my next one, I wanted to go and drop one, but I wasn't sure if it was actually in Disney World or Disneyland. I've been there a couple times with Ari. It's very New Orleans kind of flavored, and they also have specific, like, you could actually get a burger in the middle of a Zeppeli type deal.
So that is over at Disneyland.
That's Disneyland. All right, so we will not talk about that one. Instead, I am going to go. I don't know if this counts because I don't know if this is necessarily a sit-down restaurant, but I love Raglan Road, so I'm going to throw Raglan Road in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great place. It's something where again, I kind of talked about it a couple weeks ago, but it has a lot of talk. It gives me a lot of talk about my heritage. Obviously, I'm partially Irish. I bet it's a shock to most of you guys who are watching this over there. But it's something that I'm able to go to, and kind of if you go into that store, you get to kind of see all of the different, all the different Irish flags and different Irish history, and we got to see like the origin of our last name. My last name Lynch, so it was cool to go and do that, and also you have the live entertainment as well. You're getting kind of two for the price of one there. So Raglan Road certainly on my list of places to attend, and one of my favorite sit-down restaurants. And the food was fantastic as well. We have a little video over on our YouTube page. If you go and you scroll down from our trip there, it's super dark. But if you go and take a look, you can see some of the things that we enjoyed that day, and I love it. Raglan Road's great.
Yeah, and I mean, that's usually one of our go-to places to bring people that have never been, or, like when we're going to Disney Springs and we want to eat there, that's usually one of our go-to places to bring people just because it's very consistent as far as the quality of the food and the atmosphere and everything, and it's always a good time.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
What is the next one on your list?
So I'll stay at Disney Springs, and I'll say that one of my, I guess my top over at Disney Springs is relatively new, and it's the Edison over at Disney Springs. One, because I love the industrial steampunk kind of sort of atmosphere that they have. The food has always been really good. They have a clothesline bacon where it's like a candied and seasoned bacon and everything, and it actually comes on a clothesline, which I love the presentation of it. And at nighttime, they have like dancers and acrobats and everything. So it's good there as far as, like the atmosphere and the entertainment value as well at the Edison. And, it's always been a good time there too at the Edison. I've never been disappointed at any of these restaurants. So.
And is that one where is that one located?
The Edison is it's next to Maria and Enzo's, and on the other side of, wait, hold on, and on Paradiso 37. So it's kind of on the water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That's yeah. I know we've been to a couple different places down there. For me it was between two for the at Disney Springs. It was either going to be Raglan Road, which is my new favorite over there, but the place we went to right before you got married was a Mexican place.
Paradiso, yeah. So it's right next to Paradiso 37. It's right next to that place.
That was really good too.
Yeah.
For me, kind of sticking outside of the park, I believe, and I might be completely wrong on this, that this is out by the boardwalk, and that would be the Yachtsman. Yachtsman's great. Yachtsman is where I went for my bachelor party when we went down there. We'll have to do an episode about that. And Yachtsman, not only was Yachtsman great, but considering the fact that I was, next level, another world, this was at the end of the day of drinking around the world. Sorry to get a little adult oriented with our content here, but this was at the entire day of going to Epcot for my bachelor party, drinking around the world. And it was a super emotional day for me just because this was something that, I literally knew what I wanted to do for my bachelor party before I had found a girlfriend, before I had found anything. Years before this, I was like, I want to go there with all my best buddies, and I want to go to Disney World. I want to go to Epcot. And then as I got older, it was I want to go to Epcot. And I want to drink around the world. And I just thought, even though all of us were a little bit, at a different time, and it was a little chaotic during the meal, going down there and having a nice steak dinner. Steak was fantastic. The mac and cheese, I remember being out of this world good stuff. And at the same time, too, it's like we're all sitting around there, me and all of my best friends, and, Rome is burning around me, but I was still enjoying the time that we all had there. That's definitely a great place. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, and also, one of the reasons why we went there is because I really enjoy it. So I knew it was something that, I had looking for a good steak place that was also going to be conducive to being able to go to Epcot. We could have tried to get into Le Cellier over at Canada, which is also a phenomenal restaurant, but it is really hard to get a reservation there. And at the time, I had never been there, so I didn't necessarily, even though I had heard great things, and I've since been there, and it's really good, I still like the Yachtsman better. The Yachtsman has in my mind, a little bit better of an atmosphere, and overall, I really enjoyed the Yachtsman Steakhouse just a little bit more than the Le Cellier. But I feel like at this point in my Disney, going to Disney career, I start to nitpick a little bit. But again, Yachtsman is always consistent, and we've gone, for different time periods and different times of the year and for different reasons. So Yachtsman is always the same quality, and it's always been phenomenal.
Really cool. Good stuff. All right. So we now have one more left on our list. Is the one you're going to say your absolute favorite here, or are you kind of mum on whether or not it's your favorite one?
I would say if I had to choose between the other four that I've already selected, it's tough. I would probably go with Artist Point as my favorite, just because it's the most unique, and it's, maybe it's also because usually when we go there, it's for a special occasion, so that usually probably made it a little bit more special.
Was that the ones that you guys, I know that you went, I believe you had like a staycation for your birthday, so to speak, and went there, and they kind of had a whole deal set up for you guys?
That was actually a Tiffin's.
Oh, okay. It looked really nice.
Yeah, no. Tiffin, I would say if I had to choose from your list to make my favorite, Tiffin's. Tiffin's is probably Tiffin's and Artist Point are probably my top two. This actually choice is going to be a complete curveball. because I chose it so, and actually that's a very good pun that I'm going to pat myself on the back for. Um, that you'll find out in a second. It's a complete curveball because it's a restaurant that a lot of people probably don't think about, that probably people don't even know about, and two, that you wouldn't think that it has really good food, and also one that most of the time you don't need a reservation for, and that is over at the boardwalk as well, and it's the ESPN Club.
Oh, there you go. That's something I've wanted to go to for a long time.
There's a curveball. You get
I like it. I like it. The Braves minor league team plays there, right?
What'd you say?
The Braves minor league affiliate plays down there, right?
Well, so that is over at the Wide World of Sports.
Oh, okay.
So that's the Wide World of Sports complex that's kind of on the edge of Disney property. The ESPN Club, is its own standalone restaurant that's right on the boardwalk. And they kind of, a couple of years ago, they reimagined the restaurant. They got a new head chef, and he was able to go in and completely change the menu around. And it's good because it's, number one, it has your kind of typical like bar and grill type food, but it's got that almost like gastropub feel to it because everything has, the chef has been able to go and kind of create and make it his own little twist on everything. So, and again, a place where we've had consistent food across the board every time we've went. And, it's a just really good place.
Excellent. Yeah, and I do also see too, we do have a bunch of people that have decided to jump in and watch the show this week. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's awesome to see so many of you guys there. And definitely let us know in the live chat too, if you have a favorite restaurant, whether it be a sit-down restaurant or even a quick service restaurant as well in the chat. You can certainly do that. So thank you guys again for tuning in. And ESPN Club is definitely one of those places that it's also, again, it's on that short list of places I've definitely wanted to try for a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have stolen a couple of I have Raglan Road, and I have Yachtsman, and I have Tiffin's on my list of things when I was coming up with this list that I'm going to throw some stuff out there and then try and narrow it down. So you've helped me narrow it down by taking things from my list. So thank you.
Oh, there you go. No problem. Glad I could be of assistance there. Very, very cool. For my number one, and I have to, my number one is almost something that I feel like maybe my wife and I are doing a disservice to ourselves because we go to this place literally almost every time we go to Epcot. And so I don't know if we're missing out on all the other great places that have been mentioned. But it's the Biergarten German restaurant in the Germany Pavilion. And it's just a great time. The live entertainment is top notch. It's a buffet, so you get as much food as you want. And they have basically all the different types of German food that you can think of. The beer is out of this world. They give you huge portions of beer that I think are really great. And it's always good to kind of check in there and kind of, I love that place. And kind of harkening back to our last trip too, the fact they were able to accommodate such a large party and enjoying such great food, enjoying such great drinks, having our entire family down there with you guys was a lot of fun and a great memory for me. And I think those memories are part of the experience, what makes some of these sit-down restaurants so great.
Oh yeah, and Biergarten was also on my list, so there you go. So yeah, and partially because of what you said, because it's it's great food, it's consistent food, it's huge portions, both with the buffet and also with your beers. I mean, my Facebook profile picture for the longest time was me holding up the stein next to my head because it's as big as my head, and I had to use two hands because it was so heavy. So great time.
And especially, too, I mean, one of the great things about being at Disney, if you're staying on property or even if not, most of the time you have transportation. So Epcot's a great place to go and have a good time and just make sure you guys get home safely from there. So it's really good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, that's our list there, our top 5 list of our top favorite sit-down restaurants. Make sure you guys follow us over on Twitter at Disney101pod. Let us know what some of your favorite restaurants are. We've also been pretty active over on Facebook in the group. I'm not even entirely sure what the group is, but it's Disney for Everybody, not affiliated with Walt Disney World. But that's a great group. If you guys are looking for a group to talk with great Disney fans, go ahead and give them a shout out over there. I usually throw a question up there, and it's been great to talk with people. They have like over 40,000 people who are a part of that group, so it's a really, really good group. Do you have anything that you want to add about some of these dining, some of the things that we talked about today?
I mean, just that, as you can kind of, if you can tell from my list at all, I usually find that the best sit-down restaurants are outside the parks. And I think it's just because when you're staying at and they're also mostly at, except for the boardwalk, although also the three that I did, Artist Point, Kidani, or Artist Point, Sanaa, and what was my other one? Ohana, are all at deluxe resorts and also Disney Vacation Club resorts. And then also my one at Disney Springs and then one at the Boardwalk, which is a signature, which is a deluxe resort in and of itself. The best food or the best restaurants are going to be at most of the time at those deluxe resorts. The Contemporary Resort has a bunch, Grand Floridian, all of these places have some phenomenal restaurants. So one of the best things of advice that I can give you is if you're going to Walt Disney World and are looking for an amazing restaurant experience that is not in the parks, maybe you've already spent your days at the parks. Maybe you don't have any more days on your tickets left. Maybe you're kind of parked out towards the end of your vacation. So I would say definitely, if not these, check out maybe at your hotel or a different resort. Definitely take a look around at the other resorts because I find that the best dining experiences are going to be outside the resorts. And maybe I should do a top 5 of sit-down restaurants inside the parks next time.
There you go. I mean, I definitely think that that's also great because of the fact that you don't even need to be staying on property. We should make that clear. You don't even need to be staying on property if you want to go to a lot of these different restaurants. You can go and get a reservation, and maybe that day you don't even go to a park. Maybe that day you just are kind of kicking it and relaxing on your vacation. You could end your day.
So anything that's at a resort, you do not need a park ticket for, and also you don't need to pay for parking at the restaurants. You just let them know that you have a reservation at any of these restaurants, and they'll let you park for free. So that's also a big bonus too. You don't have to pay anything to get there.
There you go. Very cool. All right. Well, do you have any plugs or anything you want to get in before we get on out of here?
Over at Twitter, I am SteveCJ556, and Instagram is going to be millennial_Falcon27.
There you go. Sounds great. You can follow me at Tommy on the Spot as well as at Disney 101 Pod. We'll be back next week. We'll talk a little off air about what we've been doing, but certainly these top 5s have been a lot of fun. Maybe we'll keep going with this, and maybe we'll do top 5 places to drink in the parks or something to that extent. So that might be fun. Definitely follow us though on Twitter. You'll be the first one to hear about that. I'll throw a little side plug in there. You can also follow me at the Watch Along Wrestling Podcast. It's a podcast I do about pro wrestling each and every week. And this week coming up, we're going to go back in time and rewatch the very first episode of WCW Monday Nitro. So it's a little shorter of an episode this week, but give us a check out over there, and you can follow that at Watch Wrestle Pod. Until next week, everybody. For Steve, this is Tommy on the Spot, and we're saying so long, and have a very, very happy and a safe Labor Day, and take care.